45.
Looks like Tom Duncan.
Sounds like, must be a duck.
Jersey girls are the best.
Yeah.
What?
The bunny ears are back. Never gets old for me. I don't know why. I love that bunny ear part of that jokes. Anyway, guys, welcome to another edition of Laugh Underneath the Podcast. And we are stoked tonight, daytime. It is 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock somewhere. So we are lining up a bunch of leaders from the mortgage industry. And we thought it was a good time. You know, we're into the third quarter of 2023. We know what's going on. I don't have to regurgitate anything negative or bad for anybody right now. But we went out and we found some leaders that were willing to come on the show and dare to talk to me, you know what I mean, in a group setting. And let's see what we can get out of them. So I want to go around. Ladies first. We have Corrina Carter from CMS Mortgage, my dear friend. How are you, Corrina?
I'm great, Fobby. How are you?
You know, we talked about it before the show started. I am alive and kicking, baby.
You just got to keep the train going, right?
Yeah, man. We have Keith Canter from First Community Mortgage out of Nashville. Keith, how are you?
I'm doing great. That intro was incredible. I love it.
Thank you. So, by the way, just so the whole audience knows, Keith was going to rent out his studio to us so we can move Laugh Underneath over there. We'll be broadcasting out of that momentarily because I got to have those lights, man. Those lights are hot.
Anytime.
Anybody that's just doing the audio version, please go to our YouTube channel. Check this show out because Keith's got an amazing setup. And then, last but not least, my dear friend, Gabe Gillen. How you doing, Gabe?
Good, man. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, man. So in case anybody doesn't know, in full transparency, Gabe and I work together. Gabe is my jefe. So at Family First. And so we're all together here, one big happy family. And we are going to dive into look, man, I've been doing mortgages. Corrina, you know how long I've been doing mortgages, right? How many years? Almost 30, right?
30? Yeah, 30 almost years. 30.
30 years. We are in a really, really unique market. I mean, you know, I feel like a broken record. I've been saying this at least the last 15 episodes. Whoever comes on, you know, I just talk about what's going on. I've never seen a market like this before. You know what I mean? I've seen bad markets. We all survived 2008, right? But nothing like this. And so it was important for me when we were thinking about episodes that we wanted to create, hey, let's get some mortgage leaders. Let's get some insights on what's going on in this market from all different segments of the market, you know? And so, I mean, Keith, I just want to kind of kick it off with you. I mean, with the higher rates, the limited inventory, I mean, we're all facing the same, it doesn't matter if you're in Nashville or Toms River, New Jersey or Virginia Beach. Those two elements are a significant part of the challenge that we're dealing with, right? So in this competitive arena, I mean, what is First Community Mortgage doing to rise up to the challenge, I guess? I just want to kind of kick that off if you don't mind.
Yeah, I don't think what we're doing is rocket science, but we recognized early on that we needed to run 3 plays, and we've just been running those 3 plays over and over and over. And that was, we knew we had to grow top line revenue. You know, we're telling all of our sales loan officers, look, your referral sources have half the number of referrals to give you. You've got to go find more referral sources. So for us at a corporate level, enterprise level, we've got to find more loan officers. And so we've been recruiting really hard to try to find more loan officers, more account executives on our wholesale side. At the same time, unfortunately, we had to cut expenses to meet our current capacity, the amount of business we're doing. And the third thing is to increase efficiency through automation, through AI, through different technology solutions, and really get our processes streamlined. And I know that's basic stuff, and we all say that, but doing all 3 at once, that's a big deal. And our team has been doing a wonderful job. I can't give them enough kudos. They've been doing all 3 plays, and it's taxing. You know, they're really tired, and but they show up every day, and they're doing a great job. Yeah,
that is doing all 3 at once is pretty incredible. So I kind of want to bounce over to Corrina because Corrina, you're coming from the broker side. I didn't mention this, and I apologize. Gabe and Keith are both, you know, IMBs, independent mortgage bankers. And Corrina, the reason I invited you on this panel, I wanted to have the broker perspective also. It's not fair to just always have the IMB perspective. And as I said before, you are leading a very, very powerhouse broker shop from what I'm seeing. You're raising the bar. You're exceeding expectations. I mean, you know, the knock is, oh, well, you don't control the file, but From what I've seen, you guys are really in control of your file movements, but the challenges remain the same, no matter if you're an IMB or a broker, you know?
Mhm.
And so how are you as a broker seeing these challenges, and is it different than what maybe Keith have even said?
I think it's the same thing. As a matter of fact, I think his company's called on me about 3 or 4 different people deep. So they're doing a great job because I just told someone, hey, I already work with that company. And now I've got 5 more of them call me. So y'all are doing a great job. But I will tell you, it's the same. I mean, I tell everybody, if you're going to cast your net this big, you're not going to catch anything, right? You have to be out here like this. And everything has to be full, all your buckets. So I've been teaching and training, just did a national podcast on Tuesday as well, too, and talking about really dialing it down for the loan officer, whether it be the new loan officer or refresh, is how are they going to put their net in different buckets? And it's really about catering and talking to the people and be intentional every day of who you talk to. Because there's no way you're going to collect a database right now in this market by talking to 3 people.
Yeah.
Right. Or even any type of business coming in the door by talking to 3 people. Bobby, would you think we had like 700,000 nationwide houses on the market?
Yeah, it was like June. It was like June 2023 was 623,000, I believe, was where we ended up at.
Yeah.
And just once again, I mean, I got to talk about this, right? In 2009, just so we understand, right? Just so we understand, in 2009 there was 4 million. So now we're talking 623,000. So Gabe, I want to come to you because, look, when we're talking about this inventory, does that mean we need to have different products? Does that mean that we keep doing the same thing, expecting different result? Like me and Jeff Lobb did that live webinar the other week, or podcast the other week, you know what I mean? Where we said, stop the insanity. Like, you can't keep doing the same thing. Corrina made such a great point. Like, if you're talking to 3, you better be talking to 9. Forget the 6. Go straight to 9 or 12 or 15. What do you see as far as diversification loan products that could maybe help loan officers in this current market?
So one thing to comment on before getting into that, I think I'm curious if that 600,000 number, if that counts the ones that already have contracts on them, right? Because I've heard the numbers in like the 400,000 to 500,000 range. So it'd be interesting to know, what how ugly it really is, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I'll dig into it, but I know it doesn't count construction homes. These are just existing homes.
Existing
that
homes,
were for sale on that particular day. So I would imagine that they've excluded the ones that are under contract.
Yeah. So as far, products wise, I think every mortgage company that's out there still, right, that's still surviving and growing, they all have to have all the products, right? So I think the question is, what's the differentiator, right? So one of them that I find, that we've developed and that we are using and giving as a tool for our loan officers is it's a cash to keys program. So it's very similar to, there's 2 programs within the options there, but one's a cash offer program, and the cash offer program is very similar to what you've probably seen in the market. Right, where it's we guarantee we'll buy the house if we don't close, if the borrower's not ready to close. I think we differentiate ourselves a little bit because we'll go to the agency limits, right? So when we first developed the program, and when back in 2022, I think we were a little bit more conservative with 5%, 10% down payments on conventional, maybe credit score requirements or overlays, let's call it, right? On agency. But now, kind of matching that to agency guidelines increases the opportunity. It makes it a little different than some of these other iBuyer programs like the Ribbons and some of these other companies that have come and gone already. The second program we have for that is called Buy Now, Sell Later. And effectively, it allows a home buyer to buy a house, get into their new house prior to even listing their other house. The house that they currently live in, right? So biggest fear is, if I list my house today, someone's going to make an offer and I'm going to be homeless.
Yeah.
Where am I going to live?
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to have to live with my family. I'll move back in with my mom.
Happened to my cousin, man. Happened to my cousin.
Right.
He had to move into my aunt's house. He sold his house in Jersey, right? And literally he had a contract in another house. The inspection came with some problems. The seller said, I'm not fixing it.
Yeah.
I mean, in this market, the seller can say that, right? Okay, if you fix it, you want my house, you fix the problems. He
Right.
didn't want to fix it, so he moves into my house, my aunt's house here in Springfield, Virginia.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, so this is so for all intents and purposes, it allows someone to move into a new house and then get their house ready to sell. Maybe they're a hoarder, maybe they want to do some touch up, painting, whatever, what have you, right? But then they get it into show ready, kind of status, and then they can sell it. I think those differentiate ourselves a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not just a regular Fannie, Freddie, FHA, USDA, VA spread, or non-QM spread that we have. Yeah.
So Corrina, I mean, being a broker, I mean, you guys have access to, you know what I mean? I'm quoting you guys right now, right? I went to someone's website, and you guys have a plethora of different programs.
Sure.
So is having multiple programs, is that a differentiator being a broker versus an IMB?
Absolutely. So we do 3 coaching calls a week for our team, and our coaching call today at 11 was all about about 90% of our programs right now in our pipeline is non-cookie cutter loans. Even if it's a VA or FHA, they're still not the same as what they were 18 months ago. We have more manufactured homes in our pipeline right now. We have more non-QM in our pipeline than we have had. I've got a couple reverse mortgages in our pipeline. I've got a couple one-time closes in our pipeline. So we are in position that we are diversifying like crazy, even to the point where I'm in 19 states now. And I was only in 11 last year. And I'm glad I went to 19 because now I have 2 great business partners in 2 other states I wasn't in even just 12 months ago. So diversifying in that way, as Keith was saying, is casting your net a little bit bigger where you recruit, what you do. For me as a broker owner was also being licensed in other states too. And if I wasn't licensed, I wouldn't have picked up some great business partners.
Yeah. Keith, I want to come back to you. I want to talk about digital transformation, right? We are a very archaic industry. We don't trust anything in this industry, right?
Right.
I mean, when I got in the business, we were faxing rate sheets, right? And that was like an improvement from the board that used to be on the wall that told you the rate that you could sell in that particular week. I'm just kind of dating myself, right? So the
I was there.
Yeah. So the fax machine was like this new invention that you could see daily rates and you could fax it. You know what I mean? And I don't know if you remember this, Keith, but I couldn't even take a fax hazard policy to closing. I had to have the original binder at the time of closing. So, I mean, technology moves really slow in our industry. So I'm getting that.
Yeah. Well, I was there. Well, I used to send in our files, via the fax machine, and then we'd just sit there and wait and watch it and wait for the approvals to come out, and the approval would come out. We'd grab it, run and work the conditions and get it to closing, and, the old school way, right?
Yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah.
how is a First Community evolving their digital platforms? Are you guys evolving? I mean, are you taking advantage of it? Because obviously, look, we've all realized that AI and all that stuff is here. Robotics is here. It's going to help us in the operational center, probably not as much as in sales at this time. I mean, is that a differentiator for you moving forward?
Yeah, that's a very broad question, right? Because if we're talking about digital, are we talking about the experience for the home buyer and as they do business with our organization, or is it internally, how are we using digital technology to move the file along? Or
I'll let you pick whatever topic you want to go down on that.
I'm excited about the AI stuff, to be honest with you. I think it's coming really quickly, and I think that we're certainly working with it from an underwriting perspective, from a pre-funding QC perspective, and we want to bring it into the organization so that our staff, who are very educated and technically sound and do great things, so they can work on things that are at their level, at their competency level, right? We have them doing a lot of things today that, quite frankly, they're clicking buttons and moving stuff around, and we're too redundant in some of our process. I want to get that away. I want them to, work on some more complicated things like, decision making and the art of making a mortgage, or doing the right thing, or being a liaison to make sure that the customers are having a great experience, or our internal staff are not having a lot of friction points, things like that, to deliver a more accurate and predictable experience for our internal stakeholders and our clients.
So I want to stay with you, Keith, on this for a second.
Yeah.
How do you not as an underwriter, right? And I was an underwriter for I think 1.5 to 2 years, right?
Mhm.
They kicked me out. They said you're not good qualified, Fob. Go back to being a loan officer. So I didn't do so well. But how do you bring in AI technology so that it's not a threat to the current operational staff, right? Because it's a threatening, what you just said there feels like, oh, here we go. You know what I mean? I'm going to lose my job now, right? To some AI machine, and they don't need me anymore.
Well, that couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, we still need humans to make the final decision of the loan. So really, what it does is what I was talking about is it moves away a lot of the things they're doing today that they don't like, and we've got it to the point where we're starting to get to the point where they're getting a file towards the end where they're really making the final decision,
Mhm.
and they can spend more time again not clicking buttons and moving pieces of paper and doing manual things, but really bringing their skill and expertise to final decisioning, to more complex files, things that can't go through the automated underwriting system today or the AI system today. But also, I think everybody's tired of the ebbs and flow and the cycles of when we cycle back up and we come out of this, it'd be great to do more loans with less people so that when it does cycle back down, we don't have to go through that continuous cycle of then having to lay off underwriters as well. We want to hold on to the core great underwriters that we have today and just do more with less.
That's a great point. Gabe, I mean, let's switch over to the consumer front. You know what I mean? Keith kind of handled the operational insight, internal front. So on a consumer front, I mean, what is Family First AnnieMac doing as far as the digital transformation, the digital experience for the consumer side?
Yeah, I mean, so we've partnered with for a while now with Point of Sale, Simple Nexus, and we've been spending a lot of time with them. I mean, we found them to be the best, counterparty or best vendor thus far, and some of the tweaks and the little changes we've made to the experience as far as with automated communications and really how it integrates with our LOS, which is Encompass. I mean, that's a big part of it, but then we really take a lot of time in the CRM and then the nurturing and the journeys, as we call them, depending on what's going on with that client, right? If a client's we all know, like, our pipeline is full of pre-approved buyers, right? We're just waiting for their offer to get accepted, right? So that population has grown, that sits and kind of, we have to stay in front of them. I forget what the stat is, but it was something like, if you don't speak to your client who you issued a pre-approval to during the next 7 days, there's like a 50% chance you lose that customer.
Wow.
So, what do we do as a company? What do we do as leaders for our sales team? We can teach them how to do it, or we can build something that'll do it for them, right? And it's really just that top of mind. I'm not a big advocate of drip mail emails and just continuing to get that constant touch. However, I think depending on the customer, where they are in their process, right, or in their buying process, some of them need that, right? And maybe it's a reminders not to go open a new trade line or buy a car, or reminders to not take cash out of your mattress and deposit in your bank account. Like those reminders while they're looking for their home.
Yeah.
And it keeps top of mind. I think we've spent a great deal of resource and resources to really build out what we believe is a fantastic mousetrap, to keep everybody together and to keep so that once we get that customer, we don't want to lose them.
Yeah. My co-host on another episode we call Laugh, Let, Eat with Madison Keenan. I think Corrina knows her and Gabe probably knows her.
Yeah.
She talked a few weeks ago about her borrower actually withdrew $35,000 out of their bank account because she got that paper that said cash to close, and she thought she needed cash to close, so she went and took $35,000 out of the account. So, yeah, I mean, a drip campaign would have helped that one, right? Like, do not take any money out of your account.
I don't know if that would have stopped it, but that would be a great. That's a great story and a great memory, though.
I mean, let's talk about housing affordability, right? This is something that I think you and I talked about briefly. I know the thing is no matter where we end up with this inventory issue, no matter where we end up with the rate issue, right? Housing affordability seems to be something that, as a mortgage lender, broker, we're all going to have to be facing.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Have you looked around and really looked and see? And I think we're not paying attention enough to see how many households are multi-family generation, and also either, I guess you could say friends, family, long distance cousins, whatever you want to call it. Being in a military area, we used to have in the early 2000s a ton of military buying houses together. We didn't for years. Now we do again. But there is so much of families purchasing together now. I think we're kind of losing sight of that. Then that's where I was listening to a podcast that was talking about how builders are trying to accommodate what a house is going to look like in the future, because it's probably not just going to accommodate one family, right?
Wow. So we're talking about multi-generational, not even related families. Does that mean, Keith, that builders should focus maybe on smaller units rather than, like in Northern Virginia, DC Metro, right? We have these, 6,000, 8,000 square foot houses like on a quarter acre lot, right? Just insane, right? I mean, I don't know. But anyway, so do builders need to focus on smaller housing so that it can become more affordable?
Yeah, that's a good play, but I'm in Nashville, and the problem here is land's so expensive. Yeah, multiple units might be the play, but they tend to go bigger units, and sell the 800,000 to above $1 million to try to get a return on their investment. To me, and I don't mean to kind of veer off here, but to me, whether you're on the right side of the aisle or the left side of the aisle, and I'm not going to go down the politics, but both sides tend to. It's definitely a talking point, right? We got to fix affordable housing. We got to fix affordable housing. But and obviously everybody's in agreement. But the problem is there's no real action or solutions that I see that come from the government section. And to me, municipalities, especially at the local level, are the ones that could really either do public-private partnerships with builders, or at least make the fact that it takes 3 years to go vertical once you purchase land in the Tennessee area. I don't know about other places, but if you went out and bought a 100-acre farm today and wanted to take that vertical and build housing, it's going to take you 3 years before you go vertical. So think about the interest carry, the cost, all the things you have to jump for before you even build a house. Well, if we could make it a little easier, I'm not talking about cutting corners, but like we've got to make that process faster. And then we also have to get the public entities, the municipalities, to think about how they could give tax breaks or tax credits, or work with the builders if the builders would be willing to maybe make a little bit less on certain projects, and come together and take some action.
So, I mean, when we talk about that, I mean, and I'm going to leave this wide open to anybody who wants to jump in, okay? So this is a free-for-all question. When we start talking about 3 years to go vertical, right? That's a lot of bureaucracy right there, Keith, right? That's what we're talking about, right? So plain and simple, we're talking about bureaucracy. The mortgage industry's got its own share of bureaucracy, right? Right? The larger the company, the more bureaucracy it gets, right? If I go to Corrina, I guarantee you guys, I could probably get something done in a week, right? If I come to Keith and Gabe, it might be a little bit longer, right? The bigger the company, the bigger, right?
Sure.
So is that fair to say that 3 years could be to a year and a half is reasonable? I mean, what's the magic number for that, Keith, or anybody? I said this was a free for all question. What is the magic number that I think, like, can they go vertical in 18 months, 12 months, 6 months? What's the magic number? Anybody have anything?
How about an expedited process if you're going to build for a certain demographic or a certain affordable housing in an MMT area, or you're going to only sell to first-time homebuyers and non-foreign hedge funds, or whatever, and you commit to do that, we're going to take you through an expedited process. Oh, and maybe the builder puts up a little bit of money in escrow so that if they cut any corners, they can come back and hold it. I don't know, like fix
No,
it, right? Like
great
like
idea. Yeah. And that's what I like to do is I want to get ideas because look, you guys are the leaders of these companies, right? And when we're working for organizations, one of the hardest things to, I mean, I know one of the questions I have on here is talking about company culture, right? But you guys are saying the culture with ideas. And your ideas have to be heard on shows like this so we can talk about it, right? I mean, I like the way you kind of presented that. Like if you are going to do affordable housing, then here's a path. It's like an easy pass, like we have over here in DC. Like if you're willing to pay the price, you can get through the traffic a lot easier. Gabe, I know you like traffic in DC, so I want to come to you now.
But I don't think it's a matter of like just paying a price though, right? I think what Keith was saying is if you're doing something to help fix the problem, right? We know that we can't snap our fingers and have another million homes just secured on the land and people ready to buy them. But if you're able to move the needle and like an increased housing supply or make an impact for low to moderates, like you said, I agree. I mean, I don't know what 3 years. I'd be curious what takes 3 years, right? I know that the municipalities are definitely difficult. The building departments. I know that everything's changed from COVID. After COVID, during COVID. A lot of the faces, at least locally in our municipality, the building department, they've changed. So it's a whole new crew. So it's there's definitely some difficulties there, but I think I don't know. I think if we knew the solution, we would have been loud enough to get it to happen. Like we're good at what we do, right?
Yeah,
we need people to be good at that part of it too.
I think sometimes, and I want to stay with Keith said, I don't want to get political, but I think sometimes politicians need to hear some thoughts, that are outside their echo chambers. And that's all. I think it's not a bad thing to talk about.
This isn't my idea. This isn't an original, but I heard a great idea about putting more homes in the market was, why don't we waive capital gains on investment properties for, 2 years if you were to sell to a first-time home buyer or a minority or in an MMT area. I mean, you've got people out there that might own 20 real estate properties that might say, I'll put 10 on the market. And those are probably the homes that are needed in that price point. I'll go ahead and cash in 10 because home values are up. And they won't sell them now because they don't want to pay the capital gains. Yeah. But if we were to waive the capital gains, that's revenue that the government doesn't have today that they're not going to miss. But here's the problem. Both sides would find ways not to do that, right? Because of, they're going to spin it whichever side they want, right? They're not going to do something like that. While it makes sense, one side's going to say, well, that's a tax cut to the wealthy. And the other, I don't know what the other side might say, but they'll say something.
Yeah, it's only helping a certain segment of the population. It's not helping all of them.
There you go. I don't know.
Hey, trust me, I got them down. Living in DC, you hear this over lunch. You can't even help it, right? It's like, Corrina, let's come to you. I mean, I know you guys didn't think we were going to be talking about all this kind of stuff when you showed up on this podcast today, right? So that's why I love this show. It just goes anywhere it goes. But I want to talk about company culture, Corrina, and I want to come to you because I do know your company. I mean, look, I know Gabe's company really well. I work there, right? But I also know your company from an outsider perception, right?
Yeah.
And your culture at your company is pretty cool.
Yeah.
You've done a really good job of branding and then identifying what the brand is about and then directing your team towards that goal. Hence, you created that culture through your brand is what I saw over now. Just FYI, I've known of Corrina for about 15 years.
Maybe longer.
Longer. And I've seen her develop this thing. It's been this really journey from an outsider perspective. And then a few years ago, her and I became really good friends. And then I got the internal view, and it was just like I was seeing on the outside was on the inside. It was very pleasantly pleasing to me, right? So how did you, come up with the ideas that you did, like everything should be orange, like, haha, I got it. and then kind of share that with us if you don't mind.
Well, the orange came from it's a mood color that's supposed to change your mood to be better, right?
Mhm.
Plus, it matches my hair. So, but besides that, I think just
Both
really
both
think.
Keith and Gabe are jealous right now. That's what's going on.
Very true. Very true. Sorry, guys. But I think just really thinking about when I sat here and thought about like live, love, how do we live every day, right? How do we interact? We come into the office so much. We live with these people that we work with. We live with the buyers every single day. We go through their financials, and then we say, how do we love on them? So
Mhm.
the biggest thing I'm seeing in the market right now and how we've doubled our staff, doubled our team in just a year is collaboration, right? Is making sure that all the leaders, but also everybody has a say so. It may not be the final say so, but what does that look like for have the input? But also the collaboration is the more people I interview, the more I hear, I wish I had this to run by someone, or I wish I had someone to talk to, or I wish I had this. And it is hard to stay consistently massaging your whole company, right? But I'm very fortunate. I have a great COO. I have a great growth architect. So we are hiring leadership so that way I can stay in front of the loan officers and make sure that they're not missing that personal touch. Now, can we always do it? Probably not, but making sure that their voice is heard. And that's something as an originator, you know, why I opened my own company. My 18-year anniversary is Saturday. So
Oh wow.
Congratulations.
18 years, August 5th.
Wow.
So is because no one was listening, right? And I think that really is. So thank you, Fobby. Thank you so much for recognizing that. And you are on the inside. You're one of us now too. Sorry,
Yeah.
Gabe.
No. I always
Let's
love I always love our sessions. You know, I mean, those are amazing sessions because it was anyway. I want to go back to Gabe here real quick. Gabe, is it tougher in your position to listen to every loan officer? I mean, Corrina raises such a great point here, right? I mean, you guys are like, if you listen to every loan officer, you never go home.
Yeah, no, I think like Corrina said though, it's establishing that management team, right? That leadership team. I like to call my sales leaders pillars, right? And I say, you know, if I can manage and I can support these pillars, you know, picture it like pillars to hold a house, right? Then if I have the right pillars in those positions, then they're going to trickle down to the loan officers and really handle the loan officers. Are there times where a loan officer level situation needs my attention? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But by having those pillars in place and having those trusted leaders that we've worked with and that we, you know, similar values, similar mindset, similar, you know, care, that's what frees me up to be available in those times where I need to jump in and, you know, help out, you know. But it's really, really, again, I know giving it to the team is maybe cliche, but it truly is. It's impossible without it.
Yeah.
Right? Otherwise, you're absolutely right. I mean, you know, managing hundreds of loan officers, I wouldn't go home. I wouldn't sleep.
Keith, I mean, did you over the course of your obviously management styles change, right? We all like learn from failures that didn't work, put too much trust in that kind of person, shouldn't do that again, right? We don't really learn from successes. We learn more from failures. Is there a failure you could share with us today that was like, okay, really changed the course of you and FCM the way you are today?
100%. It's I can take it back to 2016. We had led a culture that most would say is friendly, family, kind, transparent. All those good things go off into the ditch of nepotism, of preference over performance, of we love each other too much to tell each other the truth because we're family to hurt feelings. But it's actually the opposite, right? The most loving thing you can do is tell someone the truth. And so we had gotten off into that ditch. And really, I look at culture on two guardrails. Is one, yes, 100%. You need to have a kind and loving and caring culture that really meets people where they need to be met, whether it's the highs of life or the lows of life. You need to be right there with them. But at the same time, you need to tell people the truth. You need to be honest. And you also need to have a performance guardrail as well that talks about metrics and performance and excellence, because that's what we need to do, is build a culture built on friendly and family, but also excellent and performance, because you can't get in that ditch too, right? Profits over people, all about the numbers. You don't want to get in that ditch. You want to stay right down the middle and have a healthy tension between the two. And we had gotten off onto the nepotism ditch, the preference over performance ditch. We had to bring ourselves out. We had to bring in some leadership that was more on kind of on that other side. And now we have a real good, healthy tension amongst our senior leadership team that kind of keeps the ship in the middle.
Is there a balancing act, Gabe, between too much delegation and micromanagement?
No, so too much delegation and micromanagement. I guess if you're comfortable delegating, then you're really, I don't know, are you micromanaging that at that point? I guess. What do you mean exactly? Or what do you,
is there a balancing point where, like, there's some things that need your hands on, no matter how much you trust somebody?
I gotcha. Yeah. So
you know what I mean, or if you really trust somebody, hey, take care of Fob. Let me know. Connect with me on our Monday morning call, and I'll hear about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I think a lot of that again comes down to the team and your experience with that person, right? There's people that, without a doubt, like if I gave you something to do, Fob, I know that I can. It's off my list, right? And there's plenty of people like that. But it really comes down to knowing your people and just seeing like what maybe they need that, that follow up, or that's what they're looking for too, right? So it's really understanding having that conversation with your teammate and asking them, I like that. I love asking, how do you want me to follow up on this? Or how will we know if this is done? Right? Like what will success look like? Right? And having those conversations, you're basically, you're setting the stage and you're setting the expectation together, right? But you're also creating, how you're gonna evaluate it, right? Yeah. And how you're gonna, see if it was successful or not.
Yeah. Corrina, let's stay on this for a second with me here.
Sure.
Marketing and your company, obviously, once again, I'm blown away by her marketing stuff that they do. How intimately were you involved in that? Or was that something that was presented to you, said, yeah, just do it?
No, that's like Gabe says, you get that one person. And fortunately for me, it's my son, Deshaun, which you met Deshaun, and I hand everything off on that end for him. And so he takes care of that. So I can't take any credit for any of that. So I'm very thankful that I can hand that off and it's done right. And it's done the way we should look. As a matter of fact, about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, when you started noticing the changes, we had brought on a group, a marketing team, and they put out some stuff. And he was like, hey, dude, look at like Rocket, look at UWM, look at these big people. And they're like, we don't have that money. He said, I don't care. I want it to look like that. You know what I'm saying? And I even looked at him like, I don't have that money, and he's like, if we're going to do this, we have to have it look like this. And he was just like, I'll do this myself. You know what I mean? And then he started putting the stuff out there and they started following suit. And they're like, oh, I guess I can do this stuff without the budget. But they were corporate minded and thinking from marketing corporate budget that they need all this money to make it look better. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So he showed me and showed them.
I want to say 1 second. How is it working with your son? I mean, I got to open that up, right? I mean, you have your son working with you, right? I mean, I don't
24/7.
Yeah. And he reports directly to you. He's a partner. Yeah. What's his position here?
Yeah. He reports directly to me. Deshaun has no ownership in the company. But he's in position to, have just as much say so. And I mean, we have our war room battles, right? The conference room gets steamy. There's some windows in there that, we have to fog down, but then we come out like, what's for dinner? You know what I mean? But it's good because we're such like-minded. Like you find, like it said, you find the people that you align with. And fortunately for me, this dude will never work for anybody. He will always be an entrepreneur and own 5 different companies. And that's what he's about, right? Yeah. So I'm very fortunate on that end. But I also work with my daughter. She does our HR and accounting. and she likes her tasks. She likes to go home to the kids. She likes, so we need both people in our world to make our world go round, right?
Yeah.
Fortunately for me, I got two of the best.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you. Keith, how do you feel about 2024? We're in August 2023. We're coming up to the end of the show here, guys. I don't want to not ask questions of you guys of what's happening the next 6 months, right? What are your guts telling you guys? Let's start out with Keith.
Will you tell me what inning we're in of
We
this
are-
current cycle?
Oh, I don't know. It's everything's blur. It's like a big blur
Yeah.
right now, Keith.
I'm actually getting more and more juiced about the future, more excited. It's just a matter of rates, right? Like, because if we see rates with a 5 handle, I think we're going to get a nice little refi pop. I think finally I think more and more there's pent up demand on both sides. Not only do we know there's a lot of buyers out there that want to buy, but how many people are in homes where spouses have gotten a promotion and they're making more money and they got 2 kids crammed in this room, or they really want to buy a bigger house or move and relocate, but they're locked in with their 3% rate and they're not going to trade it in for a 7% rate, but they might trade it in for a 5 or a 5.5% rate. So I'm getting, for a while, I was really pessimistic, thinking something needed to break. Another war or pandemic or something really negative to take place to drive rates down. And while nobody wants to see that would ultimately benefit rates and help our business. But now I'm thinking more along the lines of, I'm very optimistic that if the predictions hold and we do start to see some rate decline, inventory will rise. We'll get a little refinance business, debt consolidation from that high end HELOC that people have, and we'll have a nice rally. And that's, I don't know when that's going to happen. I'm hoping earlier in 24 than later, but I was hoping it would happen this year, but I don't see it.
Gabe, what are your predictions coming up for 2024?
I mean, I'm optimistic as well. I still think there's a ton more work to do in 23 and into 24 on cash out refis. I mean, if we as an industry want to help ourselves, right, help create more inventory, more housing supply, we gotta show the benefit of tapping into the equity. Most people across the country, they bought a home in the last 3 years or 3 years ago, they probably have 50% more equity, right? Or they've appreciated 50%, at least in the Northeast where we are. And with the cost of everything and inflation, their personal savings is down. So where are their assets? Where is their, their nest egg? It's in their house, right? So I guess, with rates going up, it's kind of, I don't want to say we're thankful for it, but with rates going up, the home equity lines of credit are higher. Credit cards are higher, interest rates, car loans. I mean, shoot, I think I read somewhere the other day, a new car loan's like almost double digits.
Wow.
Right? They used to, wasn't it zero for a
long
brand new
time,
car?
Yeah.
And you could put that over 72 months, right? So when you look at it and really spending the time and doing that whole blended average interest rate, when you look at your all your liabilities, and then really looking at tapping into that equity in the house, that's how we're going to get people off this. Oh yeah, but I have a 3% mortgage. Well, yeah, but you're paying 15% on another $200,000 between all your other debts.
Yeah.
So you're really paying 11, right? So why don't we get you in this nice, pretty new mortgage at 7, or and then that's how it's going to really help, snowball, I guess, or really pick up. So I'm hopeful that we keep pushing for that now, right? Because that's how we can help ourselves as an industry. Unless we want to grab a hammer and start building some houses.
It'll take 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. We gotta stay away from Nashville, otherwise it'll take 3 years, right?
No,
I can't build on the water down here.
Yeah, Fairfax County. I mean, they're the same thing as Keith hit it. It's like 2-3 years. So I'm gonna come to Corrina. 2024 predictions from you, Miss Corrina.
I think it's going to be a little bit longer than what we want it to be. I mean, that's just my opinion. Everybody's praying for first quarter, but I really don't see, to where we're going to really see a whole lot of relief until, after almost second quarter, because even when we get a little bit of our first relief, I was explaining to my team earlier, the person who qualifies for 380 right now because rates are higher may qualify for 500 next summer, but so will 50 others. So now we have a bidding war again, which then raises our prices in the Virginia Beach area by 10 to 15% overnight. And our income in our area is not raised by that much ever. So we have an income issue as well in our area, in a lot of areas where that comes into the affordable housing issue. So now you have 50 people bidding on the same $500,000 house, even if it is at 5%. That doesn't do any good. So now that house goes to 550 and we're over asking price again, right?
So in other words, what you guys are saying is 2024 could be a little bit better, but there could still be some challenges, right? Which I think is a fair way to hedge our bets, right? And what I always like to say is no matter what market it is, as an industry and as salespeople, we just need to learn to adapt. Right? If we're not adapting, somebody else is. And that's literally how I wake up every morning. I'm not joking with you guys. Right? I literally think to myself, if I don't do this, then somebody else will. So I need to get out of bed and go do it right now. And so my message to everybody that's listening is, guys, this is going to be whatever it is, but we can change what we want to change ourselves. And otherwise, all of us would be out of business today in 2023. And we're all here today. And that's an amazing thing. So, guys, the music started playing in my head. I hope you can hear it also. We've come to the end of the show. It's been an amazing show. Thank you so much for being here, Keith, Corrina, Gabe.
Thank you very much.
I look forward to getting this show out there for everybody so they can also take advantage of it. And JP, with that, get me out of here, my brother.
45.
Looks like Tom Duncan.
Sounds like, must be a duck.
Jersey girls are the best.
The bunny ears are back.